welcome to Mission Sports TV. This is The Locker Room. I'm Dave DeRocher with my buddy Tim Vizzi. How you doing, brother?
Dave, my man, I'm doing well. I got the shaved face right now, so I'm still the same guy. I just have to make that announcement as I was with the beard, just a little looking a little younger.
Yeah, like 18, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing. When I'm 27?
29, actually.
29. Wow.
Getting up there, man. Getting up there.
Really old. Hey, so, and that being said, maybe in a week or two, we'll be back to wearing hats because everything is shut back down again.
Might be COVID hat season again on these episodes. We'll see.
Been following us knows we were, we sharing our shaggy hair and all the dumb stories that guys talk about. So anyways, hey, so this week we have my old high school coach, Chris Conlin, and you'll hear me share a story about what he did for me and what he meant to me and still means to me. And I think you guys are all going to dig the interview and the words of wisdom that he shares with us. And but one of the things is his purpose of working with kids. And I don't know that he talked a whole lot about sport, did he? I mean,
right.
What he talked about was being a mentor and a person that cares about kids. And I know you work a lot with kids, Tim. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a passion of mine and definitely where my heart lies, I was very fortunate having some people that I crossed paths with on my journey that helped me out, Steve Mushagian, Brett Swain, and people that just, they fed into my life. So to be able to look back, we always say the phrase, if I knew then what I know now. And that's my big goal, is just helping these young athletes, not just in sports, but I want to make better humans. So whether that's on the field, in the classroom, at home, being a better son, a better brother, a better sister, whatever it might be, just creating good people that can contribute to society and make a difference. Because that's really what it comes down to, is everyone being collectively together in this world and driving good, right? And keeping us away from the other stuff. So.
In hearing Coach speak and in hearing you speak, and I think back to I've on and off coached at the high school level, volunteering my time, which Coach will allude to is no short order. It's about 20 to 25 hours a week.
Right.
And being in the capacity to be able to do that was a blessing to me. But here it is, I'd say probably 15 years later, and I still have a handful of those young men reach out to me on Facebook and send me notes. None of which continue playing football past high school. But just realizing if you're a coach today, kids are looking for examples and people to look up to, and you don't have to preach to them, and you don't have to, be this prolific speaker and have all these words of wisdom. They just want somebody that cares, and you're filling that role as a coach, and you see them every day, maybe even see them more than their parents do, And so to be that example is so important. And whether you're a Boys and Girls Club counselor or a high school coach, or like what you're doing and working with younger people all the way through to high school, it doesn't matter in what capacity you are. You're there because of them. And the sport is typically secondary. I mean, there are some hardcore coaches, and we need those, it's all about the sport. And, no, you're moving the wrong foot. But that's not going to get them anywhere in life. And if you just talk to them about, hey, how your grades doing? What are you doing? What are you going to do after high school? And then when they answer, you give them some advice and just care. Just ask them things that shows that you care. I'm telling you, man, they'll be all in, and then just be there for them.
Amen, man. I love it. It's all about caring.
Yeah. So we'll get more of that message here with Coach Conlin. I think you guys are all gonna dig him, and we're gonna tell people where to find us at the end of the interview, right?
Yes, sir.
We did. Yep. All right.
Yes, we did.
And that's why I have Tim. Yep. He remembers stuff, and it keeps us on track, keeps us going, because I tend to stray off. Anyhow, hey. So when we come back, we'll have Coach Chris Conlin, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, welcome back into the locker room. We have with us our special guest, very special to me. Tim, will you please do the honors and introduce Coach Conlin?
Yes, this man has been coaching the last 4 decades. He coached at University High School for 3 of them, where he was the head football coach, baseball coach, and wrestling coach. And he's been asked to coach all-star games across all 3 sports. This guy has wisdom and knowledge for days. Welcome to the show, Coach Conlin.
Thank you.
Wow, look at, so, and because, the premise is the locker room, and, Coach, you've been in the locker room for a long time, and what we do is we give each other a hard time. And so Coach has been on waiting for us since 6 a.m., making sure he had his Zoom all logged in. And
if you're not early, you're late, right? Coach is just doing,
Absolutely.
leading by example.
But he did it. This is his first Zoom, so we'll do our best to make you look good, Coach. Hey, we typically will start with asking, I know about your coaching prowess because you were my coach, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. But what about young Coach Conlin, that your sports background, growing up in sports, and did you grow up in faith?
It was interesting that I grew up in Whittier, California, and I went to California high school. My parents did not go to church, and so my aunt and uncle would pick me up at the corner of the block and drive me to a Catholic church, which was in Latin, and I had absolutely no clue what was going on. I played 3 sports in high school. I was a jack of all trade and the master of none. I played a couple of years of junior college football, a year of college baseball, and when I was doing my student teaching, I wrestled at Whittier College because they didn't have a guy. So just my dad owned sporting goods stores, so I was always around sports stuff. I had every bat, every ball, everything you could ever want. 1 pair of shoes, 1 pair of jeans, and a t-shirt, I think. But that was kind of it. And I knew in the 4th or 5th grade, I was either going to be a major league ball player or I was going to be a teacher and a coach. And it ended up that was my career path.
Well, I have to say, so, didn't recognize it at the time when we were in high school, but, the kids, even the ones that didn't play for you, all the stack, everybody loved Coach Conlin, and it was, you could tell that you loved what you did and you loved us, man. And it was really, really kind of a special deal. And then you had a cast of characters as your assistant coaches. And I didn't share this with Tim, but so Coach Giannone was my D-line coach. I played defensive line in high school. I don't know why, because I was horrible. But Coach Giannone would have a chew, a dip, and smoking his cigar and give us words of wisdom, none of which we could share on this show. Yeah, but, and then Coach Smallwood, but, it was just such a great group. Share with us a little bit, what you've seen over these decades of high school sports and working with kids, and what that's been like.
And that's probably the number one question that I'm asked. How have the kids changed over the years? And really it's how were they raised over the years? The parents kind of set the guidelines and the parameters for their own kids about how they're supposed to act or how committed they're supposed to be. And obviously the parents can't be with the kids 24 hours a day, but the first foundation that you get is from their parents. So there's a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. I kind of had some agendas, but that the parents are getting, the ones that are into it are really getting into it. And the ones that are not into it, there's parents that I never met and their kids played for me for 4 years. It kind of is just, it's how things work out in the family. So, parents nowadays are wanting to have their kids be successful. So they pay for a personal trainer and they pay for an offensive line coach to work with their kid. And they work with all these, they spend probably thousands of dollars sending them to camps. Well, and I think that's all well and good. But then at the end, what do the parents expect for their investment? So if I buy a car, I expect my car to go like 80,000 miles or whatever. But the parents are they have to realize that they had their time. If they were athletes, I had my time to play. I was a jack of all trade, master of none. My son, he played sports, but when he played, it was about him. It had nothing to do with me. So if he did well, good for him. If he struggled, that's okay, son. But a lot of the parents, they get really involved on their investment. And you know what people will say when I was the athletic director at University High School, they'll say, I want my son to get a scholarship in such and such a sport. And they go, how do we do that? And I said, well, first of all, you should have a female, because there's a lot more female scholarships available in a Division I school, because there's 80 or 90 or whatever the number is at Division I football, and there's got to be 80 or 90 Division I scholarships for females. So, you know what, that's kind of the deal. The parents, that you had your time. If you didn't play sports, I'm sorry you didn't play sports, but this is your kid's time now. Pat them on the back when they're doing well. Pat them on the back when they're struggling. Just be a parent and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Everyone's journey is your own journey, and it's not anybody else's. And that's something that might be tough for parents to realize at times, but having people around like you that can voice that and tell them and inform them, I think that's the most important thing, really, is just letting them know what's going on. And the support is the number one thing that they can really do.
Well, in saying that, Jim, you're right. The problem exists is that their support goes beyond then and I was a high school coach for a number of years. I loved it. But dealing with those parents and trying to be respectful of them, and then them telling you what you should be doing and how to coach their kid and what their coach and what their kid should be doing based on what their beliefs were. And boy, I only did it for 4 years. So Coach, I have to imagine you had some pretty interesting exchanges with some parents. And how did you deal with that? Were there any times that were just off the grid, just, really tough conversations?
Well, when I first started coaching, and even before I met you, I was 22 and I was single. And I realized when I had my son with your senior year at Glendora, that things were going to change. I thought about some of the things that I've done, and they were not the way that I would do them again. So I said, I want my son to be coach someday. I hope that he was going to play sports. If he didn't, he didn't, but I would hope that he'd want to play, and I'd hope that someone would treat him right. And I didn't care if anybody taught him the mechanics or the fundamentals of every one of the games. I think I could have found somebody to do that, but someone that just treated him right and with respect, but also was firm with him, firm but fair. Hold them to a guidelines. I try to hold our players to a certain standard. We didn't have a lot of rules, but the rules that we talked about are the things that I really believed in. So one of the first ones was, hey, don't be on time, be early. And it's fortified over the years when kids a fellow that was a dentist, he goes, Coach, I got my first dental job because I was 10 minutes early and I beat out the other applicant because they said we were dead even. So when you get feedback like that, you just automatically think, hey, I'm being on time. That's a really important thing. Treating people with respect, being honest. Those things are qualities that you want. The same thing on the field is the same thing when you're raising kids or around your kids or other kids. Society, we want people to be honest. We want them to be sincere. We want them to have a good work ethic. There's so many things that are involved, and it's no different if it's on the field, in the classroom, in your business, no matter what it is. That's what you're looking for.
Right. Well, that's the parallels between life and sports they're never ending, right? And that's what I hear just when you're saying that. I just think of the things that I learned on the football field and the coaches that have come and those golden nuggets that have stuck with me, those couple things that, that's how they ran their team. That was the culture that have stuck with me. Even now I'm done playing, and it's something that's just a part of me now. And whoever I teach or coach, or when I raise a family and have kids, I mean, those are the same things that I'm going to teach them.
Well, the hope is that along the way, you've met someone or a number of people that have made an impression on you. And some people meet people that give an impression and it's a negative impression. And so they walk away with a negative feedback that we talk about sometimes that I talk to men's groups and I'll say like, okay, you guys are struggling and did your parents pick you or did you pick your parents? And they say, well, we certainly didn't pick our parents. And I said, okay, so your parents showed up. They chose to raise you a certain way. Okay, maybe it was great, maybe it was average, maybe it was kind of jacked up. So if it was, we got this bag that we're carrying around, this bag of that we move around, and now the question is, if it's not so good, are we going to meet someone in our life that can kind of help us get turned around? You know, at a time when marriages certainly are struggling. 10 years ago they were struggling. 20 years they were struggling. You know. People opt out for whatever the reason and stuff. And now there's just a different dynamic about what's going on. So you just hope that you meet up with someone that's going to give you some good mentoring. And that's what coaching is. It's mentoring. If it's in the classroom, it's a kid that's struggling with his grades. If it's somebody that's having trouble at home, even making ends meet, you know, the school and the coaches are the ones that go out of their way and realize those things because their commitment is just, that's their life, you know?
Right.
Well, this is a perfect segue for the story I've been waiting to share, and the other thing I had to share real quick is you personified that in a number of ways. We had a kid on our team, Rich Kohler, that just sometimes lived in the mountains, and I know that you were aware that he struggled, and I know that you did everything you could to give him an opportunity to be on the team, and even though his grades weren't there, you know, and it was a different time. But I could tell you really cared about him, and it was just a really tough situation. But along those same lines, the same thing you did to me. So here's the story. Here's when I first met Coach Conlin. I was walking on campus, distinctly remember, and I think I was walking with Mraz. My jaw was wired shut from getting hit at a party, and you know, I was kind of a tall, lankier guy, never lifted a weight. And so Coach starts talking to us, and everyone knew who Mraz was because he was all world everything and was a fantastic player. And then he looked at me and said, "Hey, hey, big guy, you gonna play football?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I'm pretty good at basketball, and I got a couple scholarship offers." And he goes, "Where?" Cal State LA and Fullerton. He goes, "Come play football for me, and I'll get you a better scholarship." And I said, "You know, Coach, I'm not very good." He goes, "Look at you, just come out and play." So practice rolls around, and I'm out there. We're out there for a couple of days, and Coach comes up to me and goes, "Son, you know, you're not very good." Thanks. He said, "But you can be." He goes, "You just need to work on your footwork." And he handed me a jump rope. And he said, "Learn how to jump rope. It's going to help your foot speed and your balance and all these things." And I remember looking at him in that jump rope at 17 and knowing I'm uncoordinated, saying, well, the last thing I want to do is do something a girl does and not be able to do it in front of anybody. So, but I took the jump rope and I took it home. And I was in the backyard and by the pool, one at a time. Skip, hit my toe, curse, skip, skip. And son of a gun, that after a while, I didn't have it nailed down. And what a workout. If young athletes, if you're not jumping rope, get a jump rope and do it in your backyard. And I challenge you to do it for 3 minutes without swallowing your tongue. But it's a great workout. Anyhow, so I remember getting to the point where I was pretty darn good. And Coach, once again, distinctly remember the conversation when we had it. And I don't know why we were by the track, but we were by the track. And I came walking up with my jump rope, and you had them because I think maybe we're doing stations. I don't know. I said, "Hey, Coach, let's jump rope." And I started going and going at a pretty good speed and moving my feet. And you stood there and said, you know, wow. You know, I mean, to me, if I impressed you, I mean, then, you know, I was doing something, you know, and did it make me a great football player? No, I don't know. I doubt it. But what it did do was it gave me confidence that, you know, you handed me something challenged me to do it. I figured it out. And one thing that did result from me having some confidence and some size was that I had scholarship offers from Cal, Fullerton for a dual scholarship, Hawaii, San Diego State, and U of A was interested, and I don't know exactly where that ended up, but what you told me came to fruition because you spent the time to make sure that, you know, hey, you come out here, I'll help you get a better scholarship. The big thing about this story is that you didn't need me on that team. Because one thing I want to share is we had 5 guys, I think, go Division I. And we had 2 guys, Mraz, aforementioned, who went to the NFL as myself. That's a pretty doggone good football team from 1982. So, I mean, that, you know, now it's a little bit more prolific as, you know, high schools recruit and, you know, there's these dynasties. But back then, just organically to have that much talent, you know, and so you didn't need me on that team, but you helped me tremendously. You know, and I go on to share that, you know, it was more than learning to jump rope because it went on with me past high school. When I went on to San Diego State, I ended up choosing San Diego State. I don't know, it was the first week. The first week they brought all the freshmen in. And the first thing the O-line coach handed all of us, and I think there was like 6 or 7 O-linemen, was a jump rope. And all of those guys looked at it like I looked at you 2 years before, a year and a half before you handed me mine. And they go, what the heck are we going to do with this thing? And I just started skipping to my loo. I mean, I was like a boxer. I was doing stuff, you know? And, you know, I could tell and sense it in the coach's eyes when, you know, right away I separated myself from the other 6 guys, you know, and being able to do something that these other guys didn't do. And once again, it may sound obscure, but it wasn't, because as soon as coaches noticed that, then they gave me attention, and that gave me confidence, you know, and it's just a little thing. And that's what I like to share is that if you're a coach, you never know doing the little steps that Coach Conlin did for me, when that's going to make an impact on a young woman's life, young gal's life, you know, and you don't know to what level. It may not mean getting to the NFL, like, you know, I eventually figured out how to get to, but it will help. And you are in that capacity. You need to be prepared to be willing to do those things. And then on the other side, for a young person, be coachable. If a coach hands you a jump rope, there's a reason why. They don't want you to look like a fool. They're trying to figure out, hey, how can I help this young person succeed?
Well, you know, when I first started coaching, I was at Gar High School in Cerritos, and we had a kid named Larry Nicholas. His dad was the head coach. He was about 6'1", maybe 6'1.5", 230 pounds. He was an incredible offensive and defensive lineman. When he went to get recruited, he ended up at the Air Force Academy, which is certainly a great place to go. But because of his height, there were certain limitations. So I got the job at Glendora, and I walk out, and there's Bob Orr, who's 6'5", and you're at 6'7", and Cam King's at 6'3", and Mraz is at 6'3", 6'4". And I looked at you and I said, you know what? I took the experience of Larry Nicholas and said, hey, I'm not a bad coach, but I can't coach a guy to be 6'7". And I know what they're looking for. Ironically, after I left Glendora, I ended up at University High School. There was a kid that played for us named Sharp Hordanish. He ended up playing with the Redskins, and he played with the Raiders. No, with the Steelers. He was 6'7", 208 pounds. He was a water polo player, and we got him to go out for football. He wrestled for me also. He was a CIF champion in wrestling. But another guy who was 6'7", and he ran 4'9" at 6'7" in high school. And I told him, I go, you're going to be in the NFL someday. And he goes, you got to be kidding me. I'm a bad football player. I said, you know what? You're not a good football player because you were born in Iran, and they don't play a lot of football in Iran, but you're athletic, and you can move your feet, and you can run, and we're going to teach you. He was a wrestler. He could combat people. And he played professional football for 6 years. But you know what? I've been blessed that I've been at places at a time when God said, okay, we're going to just make sure that these guys are at this place at this time. And I got as much or more out of the Glendora experience than any of those players ever got.
Well, I can't wait to post this up, and there's a bunch of guys that when you throw a post up, they're like Tata, and what a great guy he is, and it goes across the board, and so I'm really looking forward to getting this up there and sharing this with the guys, because you did mean so much to us. You're only there for a couple of years, but you took a program that even when I was younger, they were big guys, but man, we were horrible, and it was just that we had, and it was not a secret, bad coaching. So you came in and really turned a program around that's, and since then has had legs. It's had much success, and you were only there for a short while, but it all started there.
Well, they've done a great job. We had talked about how my walk with God and stuff started, and it probably was most prevalent. My dad passed away on a Monday about 10 years ago. And 2 days later, the doctor called and said, you have neck and throat cancer. And I think at that point, I said, oh my gosh, I need God's help. I need his help, because this is going to be a struggle. It's going to be 3 months of radiation and chemo and a couple of operations. And man, I was really scared. And my family was really scared. I think when people go through that, it's worse on the family members, because I was about a month and a half out of the 3 months into chemo and radiation. And I couldn't tell you where I was. I don't have the slightest idea. I know I was at 225 when I started. And when I got done with therapy, I weighed 175. My waist was 27 and a half. Wow. When I started to gain the weight back, my wife said, hey, you're at about 190. Why don't you just stop right there? I said, if I could have stopped at 190, I would have done that in the first place. But I think that, there's some people that have grown up with God and grown up in the church their entire life. So it's just a part of them. And there are some people that just come into situations, whatever it is, and they know that they're going the wrong way. They know that things are not going exactly right. They know that they can't control their own destiny, that there's got to be someone higher, and that and that's how it started. Obviously, God put a couple of pastors into my life that became friends or were friends to just help me to, I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner, and I make a lot of mistakes. I like to think that I'm making less mistakes as I get older. I just turned 67 a couple of weeks ago. So the hope is that with his guidance, that I could reach out and mentor young people that are struggling or whatever they need. If it's in coaching, if it's in a place to live, whatever it is, it's just my freeway, my toll road has to be wider than just myself and my immediate family and friends.
Well, that's amazing. You say that, and it's one of those things, like as a coach and as a mentor, like you've put it, it's, you plant those seeds in those players, right? And when you come from that faith and you're a believer, you never know at what point that person's going to intersect and have that come into Jesus moment where, they remember something that you said, and they might be going through a struggle, and they realize, hey, I can't do this on my own, and surrender to it and surrender to God, and have that moment where they make that commitment. And it's life-changing. And it could be something going back all the way from when you were in middle school or high school that a coach said to you, and then you have that moment of clarity where it clicks.
I'm still coaching. I'm at a public school now. I was at Crane Lutheran about 3 years ago coaching football. I'm at Portola High School in Irvine. My son's the head baseball coach. I'm his assistant, hopefully an okay assistant. And we have a player on our team. His dad is a pastor of a local church, and we talk about God and we talk about things. And you know what? And there's other kids that I'll ask them sometimes if they're whatever's going on, and then I said, do you go to church? Do you believe in God and stuff? And you could say, well, Chris, you could afford to do that because if they say, hey, we're not going to pay you $4 an hour to be a walk-on coach anymore. But I think that you know what? I think that there's just, sports is important, but there's a wider range. It's just a venue for us to kind of meet up. It's what we do during that time. And I've obviously with the virus and things going on right now, I was a sports guy, and my wife goes, what do you like to do? I go, well, I like to go to the gym and work out. You can't do that. What else do you like to do? I like to coach. You can't do that right now. I like to teach. You can't do that right now. I like to go to concerts with my wife. You can't do that. You start to wonder, it's been 4 months, right? It's been 4 doggone months. So I'm training some kids in my driveway. We do social distancing with masks. They're from a number of different schools and a number of different sports. And they'll say, Coach, what is the charge? And I said, you know what? I should be paying you guys because this is my fix right now. Because otherwise, Netflix is running out of shows.
Yeah. So at Mission Sports, I think this Friday is going to be our first one. We've secured a place in Irvine at camp where we're going to be doing free workouts. We have a cross-country coach that's going to help with conditioning, and we're going to have guest coaches. So maybe, Coach, one Friday we can have you out. Talk to the kids, and we do some drills, and I'm going to be doing like some bag drills one week, and then another week we'll have like a basketball coach. But and then we just talk. We have a guest speaker talk to them about 8 minutes, and it would be awesome to have you out to do that, so long as they allow us to keep doing it. But we do the buffs and the social distancing. We did one 2 weeks ago, or last week rather. And we had about 38 kids out there. And you're right. I mean, it was good to be standing on grass with kids and run around and do some push-ups and talk to them and see them smiling. And they loved it. The parents, everybody just wants to be able to be back in some respect. So we'll make sure to keep you in the loop on that. And have
you know what, Dave? I give you a lot of credit. We probably reconnected. I'd like to say it's been within the last year. And we met up for breakfast a couple times, but I'm really impressed with everything that you're doing and how you're reaching out and taking your God-given skills, of which, who would have known that you were that articulate when you spoke at the Boys and Girls Club in Garden Grove. I was just so proud of you. I certainly didn't have anything to do with it, but just to know someone and stuff that's gone on to excel and had really done something good with his life. It's a credit to your folks, first of all, and it's a credit to God, and it's a credit for you to being online.
Well, so I have to share this tidbit too, because so Coach had been seeing on Facebook, and then I'd been doing some speaking and speaking to schools, and he said, "Hey Dave, I'd like to come hear you speak. I'd like to come hear you speak." Well, after doing the AC Green Youth Leadership Camp, I met some people with the Boys and Girls Club, the Garden Grove Boys and Girls Club, and one of the directors there said, "Hey, gee, would you come out and speak to our counselors?" And I said, "Sure," thinking, what, they're going to be 20, 25. And I said, "Man, what a great opportunity. Hey, Coach, I'm going to be speaking to these Boys and Girls Club counselors. Would you like to be my guest?" And he said, "Oh, absolutely." And then as I got closer, they told me, we're expecting 450 to 500 people in the audience. Well, I'm not sure if I told you, Coach, how many people were going to be there, but they had VIP parking for us because there's so many people. The parking lot was packed, and Coach comes in, and the whole board of directors were there, and Coach was sitting front and center, and I went into my thing, and I went into the jump rope, and I went into all of those things. Not even, and I didn't even acknowledge him until I said, "And that man that made such a difference, that you all have an opportunity to make a difference in a young person's life, is here today." And I introduced him, and he had a good minute plus ovation, of everybody just acknowledging what he did. And the other thing I went on to share was this, is that I said, when we first got back, I said, Coach, I want to share those stories because what you did for me actually ended up defining my life. If I hadn't listened to you and I went on to play football, I mean, who knows what it would have been, but it wouldn't have been what I had. And what I had opened so many doors for me. Just the fact I was in the NFL for a short period opened doors for me in every interview, every application, every opportunity, and it defined my life. And of course, Coach, you could tell Tim is speaking, right, that how humble he is. He goes, "Dave," he goes, "Look, man, I just talked you into playing football." He goes, "You did all the work, and I love you, Coach. I I'm so glad we've reconnected. You know, I've shared with you my struggles, and we've talked about it on the locker room. My brother was on and talked about his struggles, you know, and you know, you look back and then you're a little bit remiss going, gosh, you know, all the things I missed out on. But I'm so glad I'm where I'm at today, and I'm able to have these relationships with people like you, and appreciate you, and have you on this show to share with our young athletes and coaches and the words of wisdom, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more with you.
Well, I just, you know, you had talked about the young coaches, the people that are going to coaching now. There's not a lot of hiring of guys that are coaches as full-time teachers. To be a full-time teacher now, they put more and more parameters, ask them to take more tests and more classes. So with the starting salaries of what they are, a lot of people are opting out, people that are pretty sharp, and they go for the money, and they're, which I completely understand. And I just think that a walk-on coach, probably 50% of the coaches and probably most of the assistants are all walk-ons now. And they're people that are giving up their time. They've got a job where they could leave at 1:30 and leave for 3 hours. And then I don't know if they go back to their job or that's it for the day, and we're paying them $3 or $4 an hour and stuff. So those people are really dedicating, they're making a commitment to our youth. They're making a commitment to our community. They're making a commitment to our world of trying to be a positive influence. Yeah, some of them are goofy. But if you look at every type of work that there is, there's probably some goofy people in there. Some of them may not have the very best intentions, but generally to realize that people are stop what they're doing and put their time to drive someplace and add to the community. Is it to the sport? Yeah, it's a little bit to the sport, but more than that, it's to the kids. It's giving time to the kids. And, you know, some kids are raised that they don't have a dad, or maybe they don't have a mom, or maybe they don't have either one. They're in a foster home. So at a time where we have to reach out, and with all this stuff with the virus, maybe God, like you said to me, hey, you're going 100 mile world, you're going 100 miles an hour. Why don't we slow this process down, and maybe we could start to reach out for people that don't have what other people have, and make it a little bit more caring. I don't know if it's ever going to be balanced, but let's make it more caring. Like each person is important, a place for each person to live. Let's see what we could do about the homeless people. If we have to readjust the budget in order to get those people, it's almost inhumane how some of those people have been. It's not, God would never have treated anyone like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, see, Tim, I told you this guy, he knew some stuff.
Coach, thank you. Yeah, just being able to sit here and listen, I really appreciate it.
Well, it's good to talk to you guys. I hope you're still awake. I notice you guys are drinking Powerade and stuff to try to stay awake. And so
No.
my wife goes, just try not to bore him too much. I go,
no, hey, Coach, actually, as you shared that you were surprised how articulate I was. You know, you were always one of those men that just didn't say much, but when you spoke, people listened. You know, you weren't a yeller. You weren't, you know, and it just, today's interview was awesome. I appreciate everything you shared, and I'm looking forward to having you come out and work with our kids at our camp coming up.
Yeah, that'd be swell. And maybe I saw that Taka wrote something. Maybe we can get the Glendora people either over at our house or your house when things calm down. It'd be great to have a reunion with everybody.
Yep, we will absolutely do it. I mentioned it to you know, like Sean Souza, and you know, Kohler is doing fantastic with his family. I mean, across the board. Yeah, I think we would have a nice little gathering and get together, and it would be it would be fun. You know, and in those instances, you know, and people start sharing stories that you have no especially you have no recollection of, they're like, holy smokes, what, you know, did I really do that? But it will be a lot of fun, and we'll do it soon. And hey, praying for your wife. How's she doing?
She's doing great. She had her 6-month blood work the other day. It was good, knock on wood, and praise the Lord. And we're hanging in there. It's a day-to-day venture. And my daughter had her baby 3 weeks ago. So that's our 3rd grandson. So we've got a 24-month-old, 11-month, and a brand new one. So hopefully maybe they'll get some enjoyment playing ball and be involved, or maybe they'll be in the band, or maybe they'll do something, but they'll be good people, you know?
Cool.
Amen. Amen.
All right.
So I think that I think we've touched on it all. And also, Coach, let me know if I can ever come out, you know, when you with your group of kids, if I could bring any value to that. And
You know what? If I knew the Portola head football coach better, I'd say I'd love to have you come out and talk to them. So maybe if I could build that relationship with him, because I think, I mean, in the city of Irvine, there haven't been too many pro football players.
really,
No, there haven't. I believe only one, and it's the Persian guy that played for me, Shahriar Kordanis, the only Persian guy that ever played in the NFL.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, because you venture down just 10 miles, and there's a plethora coming from South Orange County. I can assure you that.
Okay.
All right,
Maybe,
sir.
maybe most of the Persian guys are soccer players.
That's right. Anything else, Tim? That you any questions you have pending for Coach before we let him go?
No, Coach, really appreciate your time. Let me just go ahead and say, guys, follow us subscribe to us on YouTube at Mission Sports TV, Instagram, Mission Sports Network. Also, we got a Facebook. We want to talk to you. We want to build community like Coach is talking about. Ask us questions. We'll reach out, and let's keep building this thing together, all right?
Yep, that's it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see all our interviews. And also, you know, keep abreast of the camps that we have coming up. We'll be looking for coaches to help us out, and they're all going to be free. And so any kids that want to come out and spend a day and learn a little bit about God and run around and get some professional coaching, it's a great day. So anyhow, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. It was a great 30 minutes. It went by in a snap. We will have you on again. And thank you all for joining us in the locker room. Be good teammates.